Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Sock Drawer. It's me, Fancy Socks, or Alexander, whatever you feel like today. Lately, there has been a fun bracket going around, mostly because of March Madness, but it's been focused on Disney slash Pixar movies. I thought this would be a great chance for me to try something new and really get in depth with this analysis, and hopefully we'll have some fun along the way. So this bracket was created by Twitter user and fellow Disney fan Yee It's Anthony at Yee It's Anthony, and I have provided a link to the original post in the video's description. Naturally, there are some strong opinions going along with this one, with a bracket of mostly great movies, and I wanted to do a little bit more than just post a picture with my choices. So I went ahead and created a uniquely sock drawer method of analyzing these movies using the acronym CLOSET. I chose these components as I felt they were strong general indicators of good movies and have a certain Disney feel to them. So briefly, just going to look at them. C for characters. Any strong Disney film has a myriad of characters that are creative, relatable, and hopefully memorable. L is for look. To me, this is a must-analyze component. You know, in animation, they literally create the world from nothing, so you want that to be something that really stands out. Um, Opposition. This is a more personal factor for me in movies, especially in Disney movies. I'd love the villains, and I want to be able to look at the antagonist or whatever's preventing our heroes from succeeding, and see that villain to be believable, but also at the same time a little sinister, a little just evil. And the best Disney slash Pixar movies have this. S for story. This is a huge topic naturally that does encompass many different things. To me, I look primarily at the flow of the story. Does it build upon itself in a way that keeps you engaged? The pace. Does it continue on in a way that makes sense and can keep you engaged throughout the entire duration of the story? E for emotion. Again, this is a vague concept, but a great Disney or Pixar movie needs to hit that emotional chord. Beyond just mentioning overall emotion, when I'm talking about this with the movies, I'm going to bring up that one moment that provides the emotional gut punch and compare that to the opposing movie in each round. And lastly, we have T for theme. To me, I want my Disney Pixar movie to leave me with a sense of purpose, clearly showing why the movie makers chose to tell the story and why it matters to me as someone who exists in the real world. And before we begin, I do want to emphasize these are just my opinions. I am not claiming to have created the supreme way of analyzing Disney movies or movies in general. Just created something that resonates with me, and I hope you all might enjoy that as well. So, as we look at the bracket here, I'll just bring it back up real quick. The first match that we have is The Lion King versus Tarzan. And what I will bring it up here. This one, I don't know if this March Madness style bracket follows the same rules of one being the top seed and 16 being, the last seed and this being the match here. But to me, it certainly seems the case. Because I'm not going to go too in depth with the ones that I think are just kind of blowouts, and this is clearly one of them. The Lion King rather is an all-time classic, and Tarzan just really isn't that great. There are some fun things in there, but it just nowhere compares. So I'll go more in depth with these movies that kind of blow the other ones out of the way in the first round later. But the characters, look, opposition story, it's all going to the Lion King. And like I said, I'll explain all that later. But Tarzan, really the only thing that I think Tarzan kind of has going for it is it has a unique look, especially with the actions and the kind of tree sliding and swinging from tree to tree. There are some really cool movements that you get to see there, and a kind of unique kind of 90s action. But again, nothing compares that to The Lion King. Even when you're talking about look, just the colors and the kind of changes that they make in The Lion King, all the different settings are really uniquely gorgeous or uniquely desolate. They all really pop on the screen compared to Tarzan, which just kind of has those kind of simpler. Hey, there's some good action scenes, but nothing compares to The Lion King. So this one's just a blowout here. Um, The Lion King moves on. Now, for the next match here, Lilo and Stitch versus Princess and the Frog, I do have a confession to make. While I have seen both of these movies, it's been a while. So this could be something that I come back and change. Because I have heard a lot of good things about the Princess and the Frog. But I'm going to go ahead and give it again to Lilo and Stitch and all the factors. Maybe it's just because I remember my ex-girlfriend and me watching Princess and the Frog and have some bad memories. But that shouldn't affect it. So if I come back and revise this and watch both of these movies and then decide Princess and the Frog is better, then I might change it. But for now, Lilo and Stitch wins all of these. I have some good memories of Lilo and Stitch. Again, I don't think this is particularly a strong movie in all of these regards, but there are some really great themes, some great emotions, especially between Lilo and her sister, and Lilo and Stitch. And Stitch is a great character by himself. So, so there we have it. Those two moving along. Um, and here we have the next match: Tangled versus Big Hero 6. This is going to be another one that's one-sided. I enjoy both of these movies quite a bit, and I remember, Big Hero 6 is newer, and when it came out, I really enjoyed it. But if you take the time to look at all of these things, I think it's clearly Tangled in all of the regards. Just to touch on briefly the characters in here. While Big Hero 6 has some really cool characters, with the team of superheroes and, especially Baymax, to me, the characters are more important when you flesh them out and they feel relatable, and a lot of the characters in Big Hero 6 kind of feel like one note. It's hard to just kind of say we're going to build a team of 6 people while at the same time focusing on the relationship between Hero and Baymax and Hero and his brother. So it's hard, but Tangle just does everything that it does better, especially on the relationship building and building characters that feel real. And again, this is going to be another clear runaway. I don't think that Big Hero 6, when you start to look at story or opposition, emotion, any of that, compares to Tangled. Tangled is really great. Again, I'm going to talk about this later as it moves on to the second round. But Big Hero 6 has some really substantial flaws, one of them being the opposition being weak, and the story kind of, I think it hits an emotional point, and then it kind of peters off towards the end. What I will mention is that kind of emotional gut punch in Big Hero 6. It really does have a great one when Baymax says, Tadashi is here, and Hero's like, no, he's not here. Like, everybody says he's here, but he's not here. And then he shows him all the videos of him building Baymax. That is a really great emotional scene, almost enough to me to take it away from Tangled, but Tangled has more moments, um, especially when, I guess this is spoilers for all these movies, but if you haven't seen them, I don't know why you would watch this video. But the moment when Flynn Rider cuts Rapunzel's hair and says, "You are my new dream," or when they're even, I see the light and they're looking at each other and falling in love and all that. Both of those moments are more impactful, I think, than the Baymax moment. But they're all really great. But again, Tangled is just a better movie, I think, in every regard. So that leads us to the last part of this week, Frozen versus Moana. It's the only difficult one, and it's where I'm going to spend the last little bit of time here, more on Frozen and Moana than I did on the other ones. And I want to, start by saying that I am a massive fan of both these movies. I have both of them. Both of their music is actually currently in my playlist, and I listen to them a lot. But I have been known to have a strong affinity towards Frozen. I created this method as a framework to guide my thoughts as opposed to just being like, oh, well, I like Frozen more than Moana, so it moves on. Um, but even again, this is a made-up method that I created for myself. These are all just my opinions, and I'm not saying this is clearly the right choices. I just, want to provide a new way of looking at these movies that I love. So let's kind of delve into Frozen versus Moana and talk a little bit about each of these components that I created. And the characters here, I think the reason why Frozen wins in characters is mostly because Moana has a lack of characters, or a lack of a lack of strong characters to compete with the amount that are in Frozen. In Moana, Moana is an amazing character. She's one of the best princesses. That, in my opinion, I actually wrote a little thing on my blog that I'll go ahead and link here that has both Moana and Elsa and Anna as where are they in the top 10 Disney princesses. But I can tell you Moana and Elsa are very high. And I think Moana is an amazing character. I think Maui is an amazing character. But once you get out of that and maybe her grandma, there aren't enough characters to compete with when you have Elsa as a strong character, when you have Anna as a strong character, and when you have Olaf. To me, that's already 3 versus 2, and they just kind of knock each other out. And even Kristoff and Sven and Hans, Duke of Wesselton, they all add to the story where Moana kind of focuses on those two. And I think overall, if you just look at the characters, you have to give it to Frozen. Um, Now, when you talk about look, I think both of these movies, they're fairly recent and they both look amazing. But it's the ambition that's going to try and to guide my judgment here. And I think when you look at it that way, Moana has more that it shows you. The ocean is where the main part of the story takes place, but it shows you, the volcano. It shows you, um, it goes into the monster world with the giant crab. And it just has more to show you. Frozen, as its namesake, shows you a lot of ice, and there's a lot of really cool things there, especially with Elsa's powers. But when you look at the ambition, Moana just does more, and it looks better when it does that. So the look goes to Moana. Opposition is unfortunately somewhere where both of these movies kind of lack, in my opinion. Especially Moana. Like I didn't like the opposition that's there. I understand that the story they're trying to tell it's not as important. The same thing in Frozen. Prince Hans is kind of like a villain towards the end, um, because he has to be, because there wouldn't be one. But if you consider the fact that, especially with Frozen, like Elsa was originally a villain, and if you think about it, Elsa is the opposition for the beginning part of the story. She's preventing Arendelle from being successful. She's preventing Anna from, being from going out into the world. She's being sheltered, and this is all because of Elsa's issues that she has. So when you look at it that way, I think that the clear winner is Frozen. There's a stronger reason why this is happening with Moana and Maui. It's just they're kind of going there, they clash with each other, and then all of a sudden, it's similar to Frozen where there's just a villain at the end, and you're like, oh, that's what's going on. So in my opinion, Frozen wins that one. Um, and here, this is another difficult one because I think if you're going to talk about characters, look, emotion, theme, I think Frozen and Moana are some of the best that Disney has ever done. But when you look at something like story and opposition, there are glaring errors. And I think Frozen has one that slaps you in the face. If you know what I'm talking about, you have a great story coming along, and then for some reason we're in Trollland singing Fixer Upper. And I think Moana, in my opinion, has similar ones where it's just kind of disjointed. Not that the Shiny song is bad. I don't think it's nearly as bad as Fixer Upper, but it's similar in the sense that we're coming along, we're telling a story, and then bam, like these things just come out of nowhere, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening in this story. Same thing. Prince Hans is all of a sudden evil. Uh, Tafiti is actually the volcano monster. It's just like, okay, these are interesting choices to kind of keep the things going, but to me they were kind of glaring and like, oh, this really sucks because I like the characters and I like a lot of what's going on here, but the story just lacks. And unfortunately, I think for Moana it lacks more. I think Frozen recovers from it well and just recovers from it better than Moana, which I think just ends. Like it's just all of a sudden she can sing a song and then bam, the story's over. And it's all happy. And I think Frozen has more. It's able to bounce back from Fixer Upper better, and end stronger. So that's where that's why I think it wins here. Now with emotion, this is this is another difficult one, but I think that there's a clear winner here, and it is Frozen. Um, I think Moana has a lot of great moments, but just the amount of time that you spend with the characters in Frozen, and you have Elsa and Anna, and more importantly, you just have Elsa embracing who she is, and I think those are stronger. Even though Moana has a very similar beat with Moana embracing who she is, and I think it's fantastic. Again, I just think there's more in Frozen to say that these emotions are stronger. Um, and there's just more characters realizing their growth than just Moana and Maui. Um, However, what I will say about Moana is I think the theme is clearer. Frozen, what you might take away from it at the end is sisterly love, which I think is a great theme that isn't explored as enough. But Moana kind of, when you think about the theme, it's really her embracing herself and not relying on what her family says or what tradition says, and that's a pretty common theme in Disney movies. But I think Moana does it in a really great way that I've seen. I happen to work in early childhood education, and I just see that, um, at least with the students that I work with, that Moana kind of resonates easier and resonates more in the sense that they understand what she was trying to do and what that means to her. So I think the theme is clearer, and I think while emotion wise Frozen is more complex, and I think that adds to it, the theme of Moana is simpler, is easier to understand in a good way that you can come away from and be like, oh, that's what was trying to happen. I feel good about this. Moana was really able to not just, oh, I'm going to be me, and that's different than what my family wants. She was able to blend both of those together and create a kind of a new world for her family and a new success story rather. So that is why I give theme there. But overall, that does put Frozen moving ahead. I know that's not going to be a popular opinion on the internet, but that's just what I believe is going on here. Again, these are my opinions. Um, and like Princess Anna said, why have a ballroom with no balls? So that's going to do it for me. Like I said, go ahead and check out the stuff in the video description. We're going to continue on here. This is just part one. As you can see, there's a lot of the bracket to go here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and send it a like. Share it with your friends. I really appreciate it. This is my first foray into something new here. So I would love to know what you think. Alrighty. Thanks. Bye-bye.